All right, here's on. Okay. Hey, Warriors, it's Diane Kaiser here, and I'm really excited to bring to you today's topic. And it's one that, when a lot of people are talking about all of the different symptoms that they have today, I like to get to the bottom line. And this is why you guys follow me around and read the blogs. And this is why one of the top, one is in this industry anyway, one of the top researched topics, and that is gut health. And it's not sexy to talk about, but what is sexy is the results that you get when you take good care of it. And so I want to get straight to the bottom line. Why is America so diseased? Why are we having so many problems? And why this is my favorite topic, and I've otherwise referred to myself as the gut goddess, because I love to talk about poop, I love to talk about colon health, I love to talk about making people feel better and happy and lose weight, and their skin will transform along with it. So if we take care of our gut, then the rest of our body is going to follow. So anyway, I have today somebody who I really, really respect and admire in the field. He is an absolute genius with respect to this topic, gut health, gut microbiome. There's something called the Gut Microbiome Project. And he'll explain a little bit about what the researchers are doing today, what that all means. His name is Karan Krishnan, and I've had the pleasure of interviewing him a few times and a couple other things that I've done, and we're just totally blown away and almost falling off my treadmill when he talks about the things that he does, because of how amazing these improvements can be if we take good care of our health and put the right things in our bodies, since right now so much of what we're consuming is not even real food. So today the topic is pro, not anti-biotics, probiotics. What's up, Kieran?
Hi, how are you?
I'm awesome, and for all of the people who are watching this, you cannot see me, but I can see him. It's like a sniper type of situation, huh?
I can see a very nice smiling picture of you, though.
Yeah, that's because I take probiotics and I use them as mouthwash. That's why.
Great, the picture.
Aw. So you guys, today, this is a real treat, and some of the things that we're going to talk about today are probably 18, 20, maybe even 40 years ahead of its time, and this is one of the quickest growing bodies of research, and I'll let Karan take it away, but I'm going to pretend today like I am the average consumer, like I'm the average person who walks into a health food store and looks at like the 7 billion gajillion probiotic supplements that are out there, and then all of these foods that are flashing eat me, buy me, swallow me, put me on your skin because I have cultures that are live and I will help you feel better and thrive. So I'm going to play you guys as though I was someone walking into a health food store, and Karan is the most intelligent health food store person that there ever is, because most people at health food stores were not trained the way that he has been. So Karan, how were you trained to know so much about what you do on the topic, so we can develop a little bit of people's credibility toward you, just to start
Sure.
off?
Well, so academically, I'm my training is as a microbiologist, and of course, microbiologists, as hopefully most people know, study microbes and the relationship of microbes to the world and all the different wonderful things that they do. So much of what we do on a day-to-day basis has come about from microbial research, because bacteria seem to be some of the most fascinating creatures on Earth. So that was my academic study and research work as well, was related to microbes. Naturally, when I went into the field of natural health and medicine and prevention, I gravitated towards where the microbes were, and that's, of course, the gut. And so I've been focusing on the gut for the last decade or so, and conducting clinical trials, my own studies, working with numerous number of doctors in the field, and really kind of trying to understand what's happening in the gut and how that affects us.
Yeah, if I could time travel, I would go back in time and I would be you.
And
Because
I've
it's,
had fun too.
what's that?
And I've had fun along the way as well, so it was good.
Yeah, no, and talking about this stuff can be fun, and that's why I resonate with you too, because you share your passion and your inflection when you're talking about this subject. So, and it just gets me so excited. You're not a monotoned individual, so it's going to be exciting for people to listen to. Okay, so here I am. I walk into a store. I am like overwhelmed with this idea that I need to take probiotics for this, that, and the other. I've seen it somewhere. A friend told me I should take probiotics, and I'm new to the subject, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go take a probiotic. And I walk into the store, and I say, I would like a healthy probiotic. and
Hmm.
I go in, and what is the person who is there most likely to tell me on what I need?
So if it's a clerk that's familiar with the space, they'll probably direct you towards the refrigerator. There's this belief system that the probiotics within the refrigerator are the best ones in the store. Now they say that because those are the ones that are likely to still be alive in the bottle. And they have to be kept in the refrigerator because they start to die off at room temperature. So a lot of these probiotic products are kept in the refrigerator and are claimed to be refrigerated. But what you'll find is that there's two issues with that right off the bat. When you start thinking about it, number one is if it has to be refrigerated, it can't survive at room temperature, which is a nice balmy 70 degrees. How can it survive 98 degrees and a pH of 1 in the stomach? So that was the first issue that you'll find with that product. The second thing that people will tell you is to look for the ones with the most number of cells and the highest concentration. So you'll see products out there that are 50 billion, 200 billion, even upwards of 800 billion I've seen recently. And some people encourage you to say that the more you take, the more cells, the better. And the diversity within those species, there's one that has 10 strains, but here's a product with 20 strains. That's actually much better. And that's why it costs 30% more, and that's the one you should take. So you'll be steered towards products in the refrigerator that have the highest counts. That's the current strategy in the marketplace.
Wow, and I've heard you said this before too, Mr. Person at the health food store. Go back to my acting. um, is that this one has like 15 strains. Like if I look at the back of this bottle, it's got like lactobacillus something something, lactobacillus something something, Saccharomyces something something, bifidobacter something something. So the more of these commas in between all of these appearing like Greek words, is that better too?
That's the party line. That's what people are saying. They're saying that the more variety you get, the higher the cell count, the better. But let me pull the curtain back for you a little bit and tell you the behind the scenes reality of all of this. All of that is marketing. Unfortunately, if you dig into the literature, you won't find any real studies that show that 10 strains are better than 5, or that 15 are better than 10, or 20 are better than 10. And you won't find any data that shows you that 100 billion cells is better than 50 billion cells, or even 800 billion cells is really the most effective. What has happened is, within the supplement space, like any other food product, in that you find in the market, is people are trying to find ways to distinguish themselves and compete. And so companies have gone with more strains, more cells, and more diversity as a method of competing with the companies that are sitting right next to them on the shelf. Unfortunately, there's no reality, there's no science behind the efficacy of more strains and more cells. So it's really just kind of marketing hype. But that's where you'll be directed.
Yeah, that's something that I would like to consider is what is happening on the inside of our body is very similar to typically what's happening in our external environment. And so I like to kind of think of probiotics like the population of America. Like we're a big melting pot. So that's better when you're looking at a label. And that's the way I used to remember it from a while back. So what you're saying is then these 400 billion strains are not as effective because they're less likely to make it down to where I want them to, which is the colon, which is just where the poop comes out. And colon cancer is on the rise. So what percentage are they estimating of the most popular things here, like the lacto and the bifido? What percentage is anticipated to even make it to where it's intended to go to benefit us?
Yeah, and that's the big problem. I mean, you could have 400 billion cells in a product or 50 billion cells. If less than 1 or 2% of them are making it to the site of action alive, it really doesn't matter how much you're taking. And the thing that I really want people to understand is when it comes to probiotics, it's quality, not quantity. You could take a trillion of the wrong bacteria and it does absolutely nothing for you, but you could take a billion of the right bacteria and it would make a huge impact on your health and wellness. So I think a little bit of background on how this kind of idea came about with probiotics is important for people to understand. So your gut is teeming with microbes. Of course, there's 100 trillion different cells that live within your gut. There's upwards of 1,500 different species. So, excuse me, it's a very diverse and complex environment. They, decades ago, they went to sample what is living in the gut. They pulled out some fecal matter. They grew it up on a plate, and they saw that, lactobacillus species and bifidobacter seem to be the predominant species that exist within the gut. So the idea was that why don't we reseed the gut every day with this good bacteria? So let's take it, let's grow it in a factory, put it in a capsule, and reconsume it every day. And if we do that, then it's going to go in and live in our gut and repopulate the gut. So most probiotics in the marketplace have this philosophy of repopulating the gut with good bacteria. The big problem with that is that doesn't happen in nature. And you can't repopulate your gut. Your gut has been seeded since birth. 838 days after birth, you've got your adult microbiome. You've got all the lactobacillus and bifidobacter you're ever going to have in there. And from that point on, it's a matter of conditioning your gut to favor the growth of your natural good bacteria and suppress the growth of bad bacteria, shifting the balance. So most of the products on the market are following the wrong philosophy in general. And so with that wrong philosophy, then they try to compete with one another to say we've got more cells, we've got more diversity, we've got 50 species. But none of it really matters because none of it's getting down, none of it's living in your gut and making any real difference.
Well, gosh, you just said something that made me think, Ron. I have taken a lot of antibiotics when I was younger, and so if I've taken antibiotics, and we're talking about the subject of probiotics, then all of these things you're talking about with respect to as I get older, developing and growing and maintaining the good stuff, I hope I didn't kill all the good stuff that my mom maybe gave me that I was developing over those 838 days. Could it be possible that 1 round to maybe even 2 or gosh, sometimes 3 or 4 can harm those?
Yeah, you know what? And the studies show that the younger you are when you have exposure to antibiotics, the worse the condition is. Adults can tend to recover from antibiotic use much better than a 2-year-old can, because a 2-year-old's gut is still being established.
Hold on. We froze for just a second, so did you say something?
Oh, yeah. What was the last thing you heard? Sorry.
Oh, I didn't hear anything after the question.
Okay. So I'll start the answer over.
Okay.
Yeah, so, antibiotics will diminish the population of good bacteria within your gut. And in fact, the younger you are, the harder it is to recover from an antibiotic. It's harder for a 2-year-old to recover from an antibiotic than an adult is to some degree, especially repeated uses of antibiotics. So a lot of people have, as kids, with constant ear infections and things like that, sinus infections, have gone through a lot of antibiotic therapy. A lot of moms are on antibiotics while they're pregnant, and that has a serious impact on your gut population. But the thing is, antibiotics never eliminate the bacteria 100%. What they do is they change the condition in the gut where the good bacteria are suppressed, and then you get overgrowth of bacteria that shouldn't be grown to that degree within that tissue, or you get an overgrowth of actually bad bacteria within your gut. So antibiotics are creating a disruption in the ecology, which leads to health issues, immune issues, things that are noticeable. But the thing is, it can be reversed. You have to remember the gut is an ecology. It's a garden. It's a microenvironment, and you can select for the types of bacteria that you want to grow by how you treat that environment. And that's a very important thing to really understand about the gut, is that it's an ecology. You can change it depending on how you treat it.
Wow. So when we say this ecology, I tend to wonder what is the current average of good bacteria to bad bacteria in Americans versus what's ideal for optimal health?
And that's a hard question to answer. So The good to bad bacteria ratios. Now, most bacteria within the gut play an important role. Even pathogenic organisms like H. pylori. Most people have heard of H. pylori. A lot of doctors will shudder at the thought of H. pylori showing up on a stool test or a biopsy test. But H. pylori plays an important role, and if you get rid of H. pylori, you increase your risk for things like esophageal cancer because H. pylori plays a role in the physiology of the gastric system. So rather than ratios to good or bad, really what we have to think about is what kind of conditions does our gut need in order for the good bacteria to hold the right proportions within the GI, and for the bacteria that shouldn't be overgrown, which we would term bad bacteria, to be kept within check. Because they play a role there too. E. coli plays a role in the gut, staph, strep, enterococcus, a lot of these bacteria that people would think are bad infectious bacteria, they have a role in the gut. They're typically kept in check by your other bacteria, and that kind of balance is important to maintain. So it's important to start thinking about how we condition the gut, what kind of microenvironment we create.
That's a great answer because I've seen it also reported in several blogs. Or wait, I'm acting. I heard from a friend that it should be like 85% good and 15% bad. She read it on some blog. I don't know what that means, but yeah.
You can't, and the thing of it is it's such a complex environment.
Yeah.
You can't simplify it down to a number like that, and it differs for people too. Some certain bacteria might be deemed bad for you, but that level of that bacteria may be okay for me, depending on what the rest of my flora looks like. So here's another very important point that most people don't understand, or most people aren't aware of. Everybody's gut is 100% unique to them. There are no two people in the world that have the same distribution of species within their gut. So your gut is as unique to you as your fingerprint is. So that's one of the problems with these multi-strain probiotics that are trying to reseed your gut with good bacteria, is your gut might not have any of those species within them. And so you're just putting in, foreign bacteria that are dying in the gastric system. You're just getting the bacterial debris passing through your digestive tract, and it's making no impact on your gut at all because those species don't even exist within your gut. So everybody's gut is completely unique. To get hard and fast rules about numbers to good to bad that fit everybody's gut just won't work. It's too unique of an environment.
So before all of you guys tune off and give up and think, well, I'm never taking a probiotic then because I give up, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, tune in for the end because we have a solution for you. So the first part comes education and learning, and the next question I was going to ask for you, Ron, is that when I go to the store, because I just look at the price tag of the probiotic, and it's like, it's like $1 a pill, man. That's not very cheap. So I'm just going to go over, I'm going to buy this coconut milk yogurt, and it's got like 7 strains in it. Oh no, this one has like 6. Mm-hmm. And I heard that this thing in kombucha over here, this one has Boulardii, and I read somewhere that it helps to destroy candida, and I get yeast infections, so I should probably drink that. And then I've got this fermented sauerkraut stuff. It doesn't say anything about strains in the label, but I heard that just eating that fermented food is better than taking a probiotic. Do I have all my bases covered here?
Unfortunately you don't, because one of the things about fermented foods, so dairy-based fermented products, kombuchas, the drinks that are out there that are fermented beverages, they can be good for you for your gut because of the ferment. So the ferment is the nutrient source that was given to the bacteria in the factory, and the bacteria digested it and metabolized it. And during the process of digesting and metabolizing, they create this fermented product. Like yogurt is basically digested milk. And so the ferment has a lot of important nutrients and compounds. So I would call all those products nutrient-dense foods, but they are not a source of probiotic bacteria, meaning a bacteria that's going to go and live in your gut and flourish. So if you're someone that's drinking your kefirs or your kombucha and eating yogurt thinking that that's my source of good bacteria, you have to think again. You're not getting live good bacteria going into your gut and living and making a change in the environment the way you think that you are. But if you're eating a yogurt that doesn't have a lot of sugars and artificial flavorings and things like that, and the ingredients are pretty clean, then it's a decent nutritious meal or snack, if you will. But those are not sources of good bacteria.
It's such a trip. I'm going back to Diane right now, the warrior, not the role, not the actress. The other day when we were talking on the phone and I asked you the question, I said, well, I've got a YouTube video that talks about how to make kefir at home because kefir at home because it's so expensive to buy coconut kefir at the store. It's like $12 for an 8-ounce container. It's really outrageous. And so I did some research myself and discovered that you can actually just make it at home, and it's using 3 things. And I said to Kiran, well, can I just take a probiotic, the kind that we like, that we agree with, is spore-based, and can I just add it to coconut water and then just let it sit for 3 days and it would turn to kefir? And I remember his answer was that, well, at that point, it's not really a probiotic as much as it is just a nutrient. It's more like a vitamin. So it's kind of like, I guess, what you just said to simplify it, and correct me if I'm wrong, if we're eating fermented foods, we're more so eating nutrient-rich, a nutrient-rich diet as opposed to fermented foods that are probiotics in the same sense of taking a pill.
Yeah, exactly. And so the word probiotic is probably one of the most misused words in the nutritional field right now. And in fact, they've really come down with legislation in the EU and the European Union on the use of the word probiotic because it's really abused. So probiotic has a very specific scientific definition. The first part of the definition is it has to be a live microorganism. And when they say live microorganism, it has to be alive in the intestines. So if the product that you're taking or the food that you're consuming has an organism in it, but that organism cannot make it through the gastric system and get to the intestine alive, which is where they would perform a probiotic function, then it's not really a probiotic. So most fermented foods, even the kefir that you make at home or the kombucha you might make at home, and the bacteria that you're putting in to ferment it, what you're getting is a nutritious meal or snack or food, but you're not getting a live bacteria that's going to go in and live in your gut, so it's not a probiotic.
So they should really, I would bet that they're going to change laws so that the labels of these foods would say a healthy fermented food, but can't necessarily say rich in probiotics.
Exactly, and there are some talks, and I've seen some proposed legislation within the FDA on some of the regulations around the claim probiotic, because the word probiotic in itself has a functional claim behind it. You're claiming something to be a probiotic. It's like giving someone a protein and calling it a vitamin. If it doesn't fit the definition of a vitamin, it's not a vitamin. And unfortunately, we don't have the legislation right now or the regulation in place, so people can call anything a probiotic without proving that it gets into the intestines where it can colonize and perform a probiotic function. But again, the fermented foods are pre-digested foods that have nutritious value. I like fermented foods. I wouldn't discourage anyone from eating fermented foods, but don't think that you're getting good live bacteria going into your intestines from those products.
Okay, Karan. So what you're saying is I should get a good probiotic, and I should put all of these really rich fermented foods in my grocery cart, and all of them are going to be healthy for me, but they have their different purposes.
Exactly, they totally different purposes. You got it.
Okay. Oh, this brownie is so good. I can't not eat these things before bed. In fact, I have taken so many different pills. I've been through so many different diet programs. I take these things they're labeled and they say reduce sugar craving, and I'm still eating them. I can't stop. This tastes so good, and the best time to eat it for me is when I go to bed.
Yes.
Help, Karan.
Well, and I'll tell you, it's not 100% your fault. You're being told what to do, believe it or not. So one of the things that we've discovered in the scientific world, if you look up the latest research, is that the gut bacteria can control your mood, your behavior, your desires, even your outlook on life, how you see the world. And the reason for that is that the gut has a direct connection with the brain. One of the systems is through the vagus nerve system. And the gut bacteria can actually produce hormones and neurotransmitters that are sent directly to the brain to affect the outcome of what you do on a day-to-day basis. Now, remember, before I mentioned, the gut really is an ecology. So you have to think about it like an ecology. And depending on what you put into that ecology, you select for certain types of members within that ecology. So if you're somebody that's eaten a lot of sugar laden foods, and you have put a lot of sugar into your system, you're basically selecting for the existence of bacteria that utilize sugar. Now, when those bacteria take over in the gut, what they need is more sugar. They don't want you to eat protein. They don't want you to eat healthy fats. They don't want you to eat non-digestible starches and fibers. They want you to eat sugar. And so in order for them to survive, they're going to create all these neurotransmitters that are going to send signals to your brain to crave more sugar. So that cupcake or that brownie that you just can't resist is being called for by the bacteria within the gut itself. So now, how do you overcome that? Well, like in any other ecology, you have to select against those bacteria. So the best way to do it is to limit their source of nutrients that they crave, which is sugar. Go back to eating vegetables as carbohydrate sources, fibers, proteins, things like that that select against them. But these guys can control what you do. So just think about that. Every time you put something in your body that shouldn't be going in, what you're doing is selecting for bacteria that require that nutrient, and then they will control your behavior. Believe it or not, it's amazing to think that these tiny little organisms in your gut can control this big complex human machinery, but they can make you go to the store and buy a brownie.
So we're basically being hypnotized
Yeah,
by these sugar zombies.
you're feeding the beast. Yeah, they're
Wow.
pulling the strings, and every time you take a bite of it and it goes down into your gut, you're giving them what they need to pull the strings. And so that is a big realization that these behaviors further perpetuate themselves. So, I see a lot of people will rationalize. They say, well, oh, I had a great workout today. I worked out for like 2 hours. I can have this brownie. 100 calories. They rationalize. And sure, that one brownie is not going to make you fat. It's not going to make you put on weight. The calories may be insignificant, but what you are doing with that single bite is you're feeding that beast that's pulling the strings within the GI. So every little gram or every little milligram of sugar that you put in there is supporting that system that creates those cravings that makes it impossible for you to change your behavior.
And I think it's kind of crazy too when you put it like that. I remember in one of the other interviews that we did, you were talking about how someone like myself might have a poorer diversification ecology, and I might have more of these bad pathogen, bad guys that are saying, text message to my brain, go eat this brownie, go eat this brownie, go eat this brownie, and then I do, and maybe you're like, oh, I kind of feel like having a brownie with you, even though you're not as impulsive about it, and I say, hey, have a brownie with me, Karan, let's have a fun Saturday night, and we eat this brownie, and because I have more bad guys, I'll actually extract maybe 100% of the calories from it, whereas you'll actually only extract 75%. So when I see so much, and I'm the nutritionist for over 38,000 moms in this group, and they all say the same thing. I shouldn't say all, but a great majority of them say, I'm doing everything possible. I'm eating healthier than ever. I'm working out not twice the amount that I used to before, and I'm actually gaining weight or they're staying the same. So this could explain it, right?
Yeah, because the people don't understand what an impact the tiny amounts make. And again, it's the tiny amounts won't necessarily impact your waistline because the caloric intake and the actual glycemic load is very low, but even the tiniest amount continues to feed that those players in the gut that are controlling your desires and how you behave.
Yeah, I feel so manipulated. Oh gosh.
You are.
So I also wanted to ask the question too, because being that I'm a former financial advisor, I like to help save people money, and I like them to become healthier without spending a bunch of money to be healthier. And everybody says it's expensive to be healthy, and of course, yeah, supply and demand will change those things. But Karan, I am now taking. I'm talking about now. I'm being the person at the grocery store,
Hmm.
a health food store. Karan, I'm on like 10 supplements now. I mean, now you're telling me to add a probiotic too. Like, that would be 11 supplements for me. And I'm taking antidepressants and I'm taking pain medication because I have an autoimmune disease. And I'm taking pain pills, or I don't know if I said that already, but I'm taking several pain pills because it hurts when my MS flares up and I have Hashimoto's too. It hurts, so I have to take all these things. I just can't possibly take another pill. And vitamin D, I take like 10,000 IU's a day of vitamin D because I'm always low on my blood tests. So I can't possibly afford or want to take another pill.
And the problem is all of those are Band-Aid solutions. So what you're doing is taking a lot of Band-Aids, and what you need to do is get rid of the Band-Aids and go to the crux of the issue. Of course, most people want to and understand that they need to eat properly, right? So eating right is the first step. Eating whole, nutritious foods, a diversity of foods that are organic, that are free of GMOs, that are free of all these pesticides and chemicals and processing. That's a no-brainer. I think most people understand that. Um, the problem with that is just eating those good foods is not enough. You still have to digest and assimilate the nutrients from that food. And that's where a lot of people fall short, because it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb. So you can eat good food all day long. If your gut is inefficient and digesting and assimilating nutrients from the food, you're not really getting the benefit out of it. So that's where supplementation comes in. So you might be getting a lot of great micronutrients from your food, but you're not assimilating them, and so you have to supplement with all these different things. And you still can't control your inflammation because you're not getting all the anti-inflammatories out of your food into your body. You still have to supplement with the antioxidants because you're not getting all the antioxidants out of your food into your body. And so that's where the diversity of pills come along, multivitamins and protein supplements and all that stuff. And so the first step is to make a conscious choice to eat a great, clean diet. And then second step is to get your gut in order so that you can actually digest, assimilate, and absorb those nutrients. And you will find that you'll need less and less of those Band-Aids. So the inflammation in the gut has to come down, the digestive ability of your gut has to improve, and the function of the gut lining has to improve so that it can actually pull in and absorb the nutrients. So really, instead of all those Band-Aids, you need to find one really good source of gut supporting nutrients and then really good food, and you'll find that a lot of those other supplements aren't necessarily required.
So that makes a lot of sense. I just recently changed over to, not necessarily paleo, but just paleo-ish, where I'm eating a lot of really clean foods, a lot of greens with every meal, and I'm spending a lot more money on these foods. I'm not feeling that much better, and I'm taking, maybe a little bit more vitamins than I did before. So, but I still have a lot of my knee pain and my back pain, and I still have to take all of these pain meds. So what you're saying is that my pain may go away just by adding this one thing, maybe?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of pain, especially people with rheumatoid arthritis, for example, which is an autoimmune type of condition, that all starts in the gut. So much of what is ailing you throughout the rest of your body starts in the gut. The gut really controls so much of the other tissue and immune tissue, mucosal tissue, all of the rest of the body. So what you'll find is that so many things can be brought under control when the gut is under control. And the number of things that you need to put Band-Aids on all these other issues that you're having will go way down. And so, yeah, it's absolutely important to be able to control your inflammation, control your oxidative stress, and control the immune dysfunctions that are leading to pain, discomfort, and other issues throughout the body, starting with the gut.
Wow. I remember I posted a little bit ago, I posted a video about vitamin D and how so many people are taking vitamin D supplements. And And these people sometimes are ones that have been sitting in the sun all day and they still have low vitamin D, and they're like, what's going on? And
Right.
I loved your commentary on that video because you talked about how the nutrients that are released by the right kind of good guys in the colon, probiotics, that they actually release nutrients like K, which are basically the usher that opens the door that allows D to go into the body, and that's how I explain it. And people are fascinated by that. So I'm like, you're taking D and you're taking K. That might be two more things that you could knock off your list and not have to buy anymore.
Right. Right. And a lot of people take digestive enzymes. You shouldn't need to have to take digestive enzymes because you should be with sufficient microbes within the gut. They should be producing all the digestive enzymes for you. In fact, a lot of these digestive enzymes are made from the proper types of probiotics that you should be taking. They use them in commercial factories to make the digestive enzymes that go in the capsules and pills that you take. So instead, create your own nutrition digestive enzyme factory in your own gut. Why take the digestive enzymes that are being made by these same microbes that should be living in your gut, but they're living in a factory and producing the digestive enzymes, and some companies extracting it out and putting it in a pill for you, when you can just have those same bugs in your gut producing it like an enzyme factory. And that's one thing. And antioxidants are a very important aspect of health. Oxidative stress is a big killer. It's a foundation for heart disease, oxidative stress. And a lot of athletes and people that are very active undergo a lot of oxidative stress daily because metabolism produces a lot of free radicals that can be very damaging to cells. And so a lot want to take antioxidants. And they've got their juices, and they've got the fruits and vegetables, which are great and have a lot of nutrient value to them. But the most bioavailable antioxidants are the ones that are going to be produced for you by gut bacteria. So there's a lot of nutrients that you don't have to supplement that can be produced in your own little nutrient factory in your gut if you've got your gut situated correctly.
It's so exciting to me. I mean, it brings me back to, I don't even know if I was alive when this started, but the whole buzz years ago was take a one a day or take a multivitamin. And it's like, if we really knew this stuff years and years ago before we started heavily marketing vitamins, multivitamins that can sometimes do more harm and cause stones and things in the body, especially calcium, it's like we are so now ahead of the game with this gut microbiome project and the information you're bringing. It just excites me because if we did it right the first way, we would have known this several decades and years ago, and we would have said, take a probiotic. We don't need all these other vitamins and stuff because we have it already inside. We just need to continue to activate them and feed them. So my question to you, Karan, is why is there all of a sudden this big buzz about probiotics? Like, why do we need them now? And it's not really been talked about in the past. And why all of a sudden is this huge thing that everybody should be taking?
And fortunately, it's finally come around. But the National Institutes of Health, so that's the biggest research organization in the U.S., really kind of the world leaders in health and nutrition and research. National Institutes of Health launched a project called the Human Microbiome Project. And the idea there was to really start to understand and characterize the gut. Because the gut is one of the final frontiers in human physiology that we really don't understand. They've really dug into the brain. They know a lot about the brain and what it does. They know a lot about every other organ in the body. Most doctors are very well versed on how the liver functions, how the kidneys function, how the heart functions. And we know a lot about all these other systems in the body. We know very little about the gut, which is fascinating. If you think about it, everything starts with the gut, and yet that's the thing we know the least about. And medical doctors are completely clueless as to the form and function of the flora that lives within the gut. So what they were really looking to do first was to be able to characterize certain types of gut populations with certain diseases, because it's been estimated now for almost 100 years since the discovery of probiotics that your gut bacteria are the ones that really cause risk for diseases. And that's when they launched Human Microbiome Project. It was roughly around 200 researchers around the world that are still doing a lot of work right now. 80 different research institutes, dozens of great papers are coming out, and we're finally starting to understand that the bacteria, the ecology within the gut, plays a paramount role in overall health. And you literally cannot fix any component of your health without really fixing the gut first. And that's how important it is. The gut controls so much, controls virtually everything within the body. Everything you do to the other organ systems to fix it, the liver, the kidney, the brain, the heart, the circulatory system, your muscles, all of those things that may be facing issues and conditions and ailments that are considered diseases. There are treatments for them, but the true crux of making sure those physiological functions are optimum starts with the gut. And that's why it's so important. That's why there's so much buzz about probiotics. We're starting to understand that that's what controls everything.
Yeah. So when you said that there was like this big light bulb moment when we interviewed you last time, and you said that the lining of our mouth, the lining of our, for women, our vagina, are the lining of our intestines, of our colon, it's all one big uniform organism. Mm-hmm. And if it's impaired here, it's going to be impaired here. And so I have and I work with a lot of women this way too, who have a history of urinary tract infections, and they have candida, which would be something like a yeast infection. A lot of them have IBS and autoimmune conditions, and all of these things. And then of course, if they have all these issues, it's typically liver congestion, and then they have acne, and then they start to carry excess stuff because all of these organs aren't functioning correctly. So how one thing looks is how everything looks. It's kind of like the statement, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Yeah. And so I think it's really neat, because now I'm starting to get, like, in my own little experiment at home, well, the inside of my mouth is all jacked up because I took Accutane years ago because I had cystic acne, and that's something, I still have scarring from that. But when I was 17, I didn't know better. But I know a lot of people have done really crazy things for their skin, and they put crazy chemicals on their skin, spend hundreds of dollars on their skin, and they're things that are regulated by the colon. I didn't know that back then, but now I'm using, like you taught me, the mouthwash, probiotics. Maybe I can try that. Maybe that's one thing that I can try. And it's not things that we could actually suggest to anybody, but it's just kind of like becoming a little experiment with your body, and even maybe using in other areas if you have in conditions where it would be not enough bacteria. So it's working, and those things are working. I've never felt so amazing in my life. It's maybe a whole lifetime of rebuilding. But I liked from the website, and I wrote a blog on this, is that the pluses of having the right kind of gut microbiome is it reduces allergies and asthma, helps you with your immune system, and you have lesser colds and flu infections, decrease in UTIs, reduction in side effect-related antibiotic therapy, effective treatment for SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I used to have that. This one worked well for me, the one that we're going to talk about at the end. Getting rid of diarrhea and IBS, or controlling it, so you're not so constipated and back and forth, and improving conditions of rheumatoid arthritis and other autoimmune conditions, and pain, IBS, Crohn's, and let's see. Oh yeah, then when we were talking about the accurate the food cravings and leveled appetites, and we already talked about a lot of the decreased cardiovascular disease and reduction of cholesterol. But the two main things, actually I'd say the three main things that people really care about, and if people feel like crap and they've been feeling like crap for a long time, they've probably had an issue for decades. Mm-hmm. What people really want to feel is they want more energy, they want better skin, and they want to lose weight. Those are the three things that they want. So what have you seen in terms of how this specific one has helped people in those three areas?
Yeah, so let's start with more energy. Energy is you go down to the cellular level, we're talking about mitochondrial function, right? The mitochondria is a powerhouse of every cell. That's what produces ATP, which is the energy compound for humans. And if you have low energy, it means you're either not feeding your mitochondrial system well enough with enough nutrients so that it can cycle and produce enough ATP, or that your mitochondrial system is low, and you in fact have less mitochondria than somebody else that feeling very high energy. So a lot of that has to do with inflammation in the cell, and as well as the absorption of nutrients from your food. So as you can bring down gut and systemic inflammation, you will start to feel better. Your cells will actually function better. You can actually pull in more energy driving compounds that feed the citric acid cycle, the Krebs cycle, the glycolysis cycle. These are all the cellular cycles that feed compounds into the mitochondria so you can produce energy. And we can think of it from a macro standpoint of what you're eating, but it really comes down to the cellular level. If each one of those little cells is not pumping out the right amount of energy for you, you're going to feel lethargic, you're going to feel unmotivated, you're going to feel lazy. You want to get that inflammation down, you want to power the cells, and you want to feed them appropriately. And that all starts with the gut, with assimilating, digesting, and absorbing the nutrients from your food and bringing down the inflammation that's systemic, and it's in the digestive system that starts in the gut. So the second part is you said they want energy, they want skin to look good, right?
Yeah.
So skin is a reflection of the rest of your body. The skin actually is a great mirror for what's happening on the inside of your body. If the inside of your body is toxic, if the inside of your body is sick, if the inside of your body is not getting enough nutrients, your skin will show all of that. And that's because the skin is the most peripheral tissue from the organ system. And if the peripheral tissue is not looking healthy, it means the inside is not looking healthy, because the inside is barely getting all the nutrients and anti-nutrients and bring down toxins and toxicity and things like that are required for optimum health. So the only way to really make your skin look good is to clean up the inside of your body, and that is detoxifying, supporting the liver, eating foods that are less toxic to you, oxidative stress, reducing oxidative stress, and then again having enough nutrients. People don't really think about enough nutrients. People want to put vitamin E on the skin, but vitamin E will work much more effectively going into your body and feeding your skin from the within. And what was the third one? You said that people want to feel more energy, have better skin, and what was the third part?
A lesser expanding waistline.
Yes, so weight. Weight is metabolic syndrome, and what kind of fuel you're putting into your body, and what kind of cravings your bacteria are making you have. So what you need to do is adjust your ecology in your gut so that you favor the growth of bacteria that will ferment fibers, that will ferment proteins, that will actually increase fat metabolism, that will increase satiety hormones within the gut itself, so that you know when to stop eating, will actually increase fat burning signals through the body, and actually will be able to assimilate the food better, so you're not fed well but still nutrient deficient, which makes you feel hungry all the time. So again, that starts with the gut as well. So the only way to keep the waistline small, to keep your skin looking good and feeling that you have enough energy and motivation to get out there and live the life that you want to live, is really through the gut. Without starting at the gut, without fixing the gut, you really can't achieve those three things.
Yeah, this is time travel again. I wish I knew this stuff when I was and when it all first started, and my health went downhill, and
Yeah.
I put topical things on my skin because I had cystic acne, and I was spending lots of money on prescriptions, and now people are spending hundreds and thousands on these treatments on their face, and I get approached probably 3 times a week. People asking me to sell their toxic chemical-filled stuff that's working on everybody to get rid of these things on the face, these blemishes, these wrinkles, these sunspots, whatever it is. Gosh, if you just take care of yourself from the inside and stop looking for a formula in a bottle that's going to do the hard work for you, then it's less invasive to our body to have to actually go through all those chemicals in the products themselves if we just fed our body the right way and then fix the things that help us turn those into nutrients. So it's very logical when you break it all down, and that's why I'm so fascinated by it, because you could literally almost take a whole PNC and put it out of business with one pill almost, because they don't, I work with professional athletes, they might not even, need creatine because
Right.
creatine helps ATP and that gives us energy. It's like, well, we might not even need that because we have the right gut bacteria. So it's so cool. This stuff is so cool. So a couple more questions and we'll begin to wrap it up too, Ron, is I do have several pregnant or aspiring to be pregnant or breastfeeding moms. And so can we talk quickly about, we did talk a little bit earlier about the women who are taking antibiotics while pregnant. Is this safe to take? And I've got some moms who are like, oh, is this safe to take? But then I say to them, you just told me you had a piece of cake for lunch. So is sugar safe? I mean, really, like, is crappy food safe when you're eating a baby, but yet, like, there's this healthy thing? So I thought it was funny, but are they safe to take while they're pregnant or feed their baby?
Yeah, I mean, not only is it safe, it's absolutely important. Just think about if you're gestating a baby right now, you're going to give that child your bacterial flora, and that bacterial flora that you give your child is going to determine a lot about their health and wellness for the rest of their life. We used to think that so many things about our health and wellness are transferred on our genes, but we're starting to see now more and more that so many determinants of health are transferred more by the gut bacteria than by the genetics that you pass on to your kids. So for the moms out there, during pregnancy, prior to pregnancy, when you're even thinking about having a kid, it's absolutely important that you get your gut bacteria and your gut ecology under control, because that's what you'll be passing on to your kid. You'll hear about people with very unusual sensitivities, allergies to things like formaldehyde, that are found in glues in clothing and things like that. Are very, very uncommon, but a lot of times you'll find them across the board in a family.
Uh-oh, we're frozen.
Having a baby fix their gut.
Okay, I kind of lost you for a second, but it's okay. I think, can you still hear me okay, Karan? Oh, shoot. Can you hear me, Karan? Knock, knock. Oh, there you are. Are you back? Are you still there? Shoot, I can't see you, but I can hear you a little bit. Can you hear me, Karan? There you go. Is everything okay over there? Shoot. I think it's our tech connection. Test. Test, test, are you there? Wait, I can see you moving, but I don't hear you.
Hello?
Yes. Are you back? Oh, shoot, okay. I'll have to edit this out. Frozen? Wait, now I can hear you. Are you there? Karan, Karan, Karan. Okay, I have to make this note. There, are you there? Karan, are you there? Shoot. Okay, maybe he's gonna try to log back in. I'll have to edit this part. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
That was weird. Wait, okay, so you came back on and it had the microphone and camera off. Okay, so can you still not see me, but you can hear me?
Right, I can't see you still.
Okay, so we'll because you got frozen when you said you were talking about the gut microbiome being very similar with kids having issues. So how should I phrase that last question, and then we can start closing off?
Do we want to just do that last question over again, where you say,
Okay.
if I'm a pregnant mom or thinking about getting pregnant, does this work? Is this important or
Okay.
taking this?
Okay. So pause to. Okay. So Karan, say I am a aspiring to conceive woman
Mm-hmm.
and or male, and or I'm pregnant now, or I'm breastfeeding. Is this going to be safe for me and the baby, or is it helpful or harmful, or what?
And that's a great question. So not only is it safe, it's absolutely necessary. So one of the things that a mom who's pregnant or aspiring to be pregnant should really realize is that so much of the health of the child is going to depend on the type of microbes that you pass on to your kid. Now, we used to think that all health aspects are transferred on genes, on genetics. If you're somebody that has allergies and asthma and things like that, oh, you got those genetics from your parents. Well, no, that's not where they come from. Most of those kind of ailments, types of things that really bother people for the rest of their lives and cause problem, come from your microbiome. And so mom is passing down her gut bacteria to her kid. So much of the kid's health and wellness for the rest of their lives will depend on the type of microbiome that you pass down to your kid. So it's very important to keep two things in mind. If you are pregnant, thinking about getting pregnant, it's very important for you to fix your gut ecology. So you've got to eat the types of foods that support a healthy microbiome. You've got to take what nature has designed to be a probiotic, not the hundreds of billions of stuff that you find at the store in the refrigerator, but a true probiotic. And then you also want to stay away from things that affect the microbiome. Then, if you are nursing and your baby is born and out there in the world, couple of things to keep in mind is that the one of the big factors of nursing is establishing the gut microbiome for the child. Breast milk has between 400 and 600 different species of bacteria, and one of the biggest nutritional components of breast milk is an oligosaccharide, a fiber, if you will, that the baby can't even digest for energy. It's there purely to act as a prebiotic to seed the baby's gut. So nursing, breastfeeding is absolutely important, but you also want to make sure that you're transferring good bacteria to the child, and that comes from fixing your own gut. Now, 3, 4, 5 month old babies should be crawling around on the floor and laying around on the floor. And in most of our worlds, they live in a very sterile environment, so they don't get appropriate exposure to what would be deemed as healthy microbes from the environment, like our ancestors did. Our ancestors' babies crawled around in the dirt and put rocks in their mouth and who knows, dried dung of some animal in their mouth. And babies are very oral; they put everything in their mouth. And so it's important for babies to get exposure to these types of important microbes as well that are designed by nature to act as probiotics within the gut. So yes, not only is it important, not only is it safe, but it's absolutely important and paramount to the health of mom and the baby to get the right exposure of bacteria.
That's awesome. That's amazing, and I'm so glad you said that because so many moms today are falling victim to C-sections that are unnecessary, and there's a lot of fear factoring and fear mongering going into it. So this is a place that maybe if you're pregnant or aspiring to be pregnant, you do a lot of research on it, and you feel confident going into this. So the biggest issues that I see, I've got several kid patients, clients under the age of 10, and they're overweight and they're craving for sugar all the time, and most of those children were born to C-section,
Yeah.
and they also were not breastfed because the mom had other complications. And so it's like that movie 28 Days Later.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We could make one called 838 Days Later.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I'm glad you bring up C-section because some of the latest data. So people are always wondering, well, where's autism come from? Why is the high prevalence? C-section babies have an 80% increased risk of developing autism or spectral disorders. So that's a significant difference. C-section babies also have something like a 60% higher risk factor of developing immune dysfunctions, allergies, asthma, obesity, childhood diabetes. So it's an important thing. But the unfortunate thing is some people have to have C-sections. The babies breach, labor isn't progressing the way it should. You're not going to be able to deliver baby through natural childbirth. So in those cases, in fact, talk to your OBGYN. They might already be aware of this, but there's a lot of great research going on right now that shows that C-section babies can be helped quite a bit if the OBGYN takes a vaginal swab and then actually inoculates the baby's skin and around the mouth area and all that right after birth. So that's something to talk to your OBGYN, because I don't want people who are listening to this who may be pregnant, they're in the 10th month and the baby's still breech and they know that they're going to end up having a C-section and be freaking out. Studies have shown that can actually help. So talk to your OBGYN about getting a birth canal swab done and trying to inoculate the baby that way. And then the skin-to-skin contact is also going to be very important, because that's another way of transferring bacteria from mom to baby, is a lot of skin-to-skin contact. And of course, the most important thing is the nursing as well. It's fascinating to me the number of people that don't nurse and use formula instead. When there's one mammalian food that has been perfected and developed by evolution, and that's mother's milk. Mother's milk wouldn't exist today. It would have been rooted out by evolution if it wasn't the perfect food for a fetus that is coming into this world, and yet we want to use formula that's been engineered in a factory instead of this wonderful thing that nature has created for us over millions of years. So breastfeed those babies.
Yeah, and then a lot of that's soy, and that's an endocrine disruptor, and then you've got guys who are little boys and they're obese before they're even able to play sports, and that's just bad. So
Yeah.
I like to sometimes think that I've got all these health conditions, and I was just born and I was just thrown to run around the streets and not touched for 3 years, because I've had all these health issues, and I'm a lot better from all this work and taking the right kind of probiotics. So let's talk about that, Karan. The difference between the probiotics that we talked about earlier, that, like you said, are better in our first 10 or 30 days to inoculate, versus kinds that come from mushrooms, and that's really cool, right? So like the Super Mario Brothers game, mushrooms, magic? Why?
Well, so the difference between what nature has designed a probiotic to be and what we've tried to engineer the probiotic to be is the philosophy behind how you use it and what they do. I mentioned earlier that most companies are now, or have been for decades, using the philosophy that we can reseed and re-inoculate the gut with good bacteria. But we're finding out that can't happen. That, again, happened at birth, right after birth, and your gut was seeded and established within the first 838 days of life. And so we can't go back and reseed your gut. You've already got all that bacteria in there. And nature, however, has designed certain types of bacteria within the environment to act as probiotics, but what they do is they regulate the gut. And that's a very different function. They're not going in there and trying to reseed it. They go in there, they live in there for a period of time. When they live in there, what they do is they sense the environment. And they know, because they've evolved with us over millions of years, and they understand what our gut ecology is supposed to look like, because it's their home too, right? So they use the gut as their primary home. They actually function in the environment as a vector to transfer from host to host. So when they get in the gut, they have it within their genetic elements to understand what the gut is supposed to look like. And when they get in there, they can do something called quorum sensing, where they can speak to the other bacteria around. They can sense what types of bacteria are there, what quantities of bacteria are there, and they will actually take action to suppress bad bacteria, diminish overgrown bacteria, and actually increase the growth of your natural good bacteria. So they are, in fact, the police, the regulators of the gut. They survive through the gastric system naturally without any issue at all, and then they spend some time in your gut fixing your gut for you. And that's what nature is designed. You don't have to do any engineering to these species. You don't have to enterocode them. You don't have to do any great complicated, biological or biotechnological actions to them. You simply have to deliver them to the gut, and that's really where a true nature design probiotic comes from. It's something that is present in the environment, present on your food, present on natural food that you would have eaten within the soil. And if you're a hunter or gatherer and you dug for roots and tubers, you would have gotten a huge amount of these bacteria. If you drank out of streams and rivers and lakes, you would have got a huge amount of these bacteria, as our ancestors did for millions of years. We've, of course, eliminated them from our environment because we live in a sterile, concrete environment, if you will.
It's totally Super Mario Brothers, dude. It's totally Super Mario Brothers. Like, eat the mushroom and you're like, ding, 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 and you get huge, and then you can run around, you're more superpowers, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so last question for you, Karan. It should be a pretty simple one. Here I am again at the health food store. So, Mr. Karan, the health food store guy who's been helping me this last hour, help understanding what probiotics are all about, why I should put things in my cart, which things I shouldn't. Should I take this for the rest of my life?
The way these probiotics are designed is they're designed to be consumed every day like food. They are what we call part of our foundational food. These were very important nutrients that humans, for most of human evolution, consumed on a daily basis. And because of that daily consumption, these probiotics develop a capability of living within the body for a short period of time, usually 7 to 21 days, and then they end up leaving. Now, if you think about it, if they never left and you consumed them every day, at some point they would take over. So they've got their own internal limitation clock, where if you exceed a certain amount, then they end up leaving. So the number that leave actually equate the number coming in. So they've got their own little happy level that they like to maintain within the gut. But the importance of getting exposure to them every day is every time they enter your body, they create this great immune modulatory effect. Your immune system sees them, they ring that immune bell to reduce inflammation, to train your immune system on how to fight infections and things like that much more effectively. And so that daily exposure becomes very important. Now, you can reduce the amount of exposure to a few times a week in many cases, but constant exposure is important to them. Just like you would eat protein every day, you would eat fiber every day. This is a nutrient that is required on a regular basis.
It's so cool. So cool. I don't look at soil the same anymore. I look at it now and I'm thinking, oh, you're little friends that are helping my gut. So as long as it's not been sprayed with a bunch of chemicals.
And it's pristine soil on the side of a mountain that hasn't been touched.
Yeah. That's what I love about this, is that this is like the Cadillac of probiotics, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg either. Although at the time of this recording, I know that we have completely run out of stock, because in the last 2 days, I've had like 10 people text me and email me saying, oh no, they're out of stock. So that must mean that we've got a lot of demand for it, which is a really cool thing, because this is one of the best ones that's out there, and that's the reason why I'm bringing it to you. And Karan, any closing statements? Because I just wanted to thank you so much for walking me through this grocery store and helping me through all the maze of questions that I had in this confusing world of conflict, where one thing says one thing and the other conflicts it.
Yeah, the last parting words are, beware all the marketing hype. There's a lot of stuff out there that has been put out there as claims that are primarily designed from a marketing perspective and not from a scientific perspective. And always look to nature to see if something really makes sense. My question that I always ask myself is, does it happen in nature? And if it doesn't happen in nature, then it likely doesn't make sense for your body, because your body has evolved in nature over the last couple million years, and everything that your body is exposed to and designed to function within should occur in nature naturally. And so when you look at a product that has 200 billion cells and 15 different strains of Lactobacillus and Bifidobacter, the question is, where in nature does that happen? Where in nature do you get a refrigerated probiotic? So we don't see those things happening in nature, and so that's why it doesn't make sense. What we wanted to do was take something that was designed by nature and perfected over a couple million years and bring it back into our lives, since we've inadvertently eliminated them from the way we live in the modern world. And that's the beauty of this type of probiotic, the spore-based probiotic. So take care of your gut. It'll fix so many different things that are affecting your life, even your outlook on life. Keep that in mind. You know, we're talking joint pain and inflammation and all these things, but even the way you view the world is controlled by the type of bacteria in the gut, your motivations, your outlook, how you see people and how you interact with people. So much of your life is dependent on your gut. So take care of your gut. It's absolutely paramount.
Yeah, and it's a generation skipping thing too. So as parents, if we take better care of ourselves and have babies, the better health of our babies and the greater likelihood that we can keep having healthy generations of kids. So people always ask me, hey, Diane, what do you think about this protein shake? And there's like 80 ingredients, and 4 of which are artificial ingredients. One's aspartame, and I'm like, does aspartame grow on trees?
Right.
Is it natural in nature? So the answer is probably no, it's not healthy. So that's what I like about this, is that it's a naturally occurring thing, and that your body will, it just enables your body to discover its own innate powers, and it becomes our own, healthy kryptonite. So thank you so much, Karan. I really, really appreciate you bringing all this really high-tech, state-of-the-art, brand new, hot off the press studies from the Gut Microbiome Project from you to our living room or wherever people are watching this. So I'm going to put links below so you guys can read a little bit more about how to order and what exactly this is and why this is and how Karan came to be on this team. But thank you so much for tuning in, and for everybody else, on behalf of everybody else, thank you so much for working on this very serious topic that improves the lives of all of us.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Cool. All right, Karan. Catch you soon.